My father threw me out in a storm at 15. 13 years later, he begged me to visit him. Can you imagine these words? Get out of my house. I don't need a sick daughter. Those were the last words my father said to me before he shoved me into an October storm and locked the door behind me. I was 15 years old. No coat, no phone, no money. Just a school backpack with algebra homework inside, and rain already soaking through my sneakers. 3 hours later, the police called him, and when he heard what they said, his face went white as a ghost. But by then, it was already too late. My name is Cher Walls. I'm 28 now, sitting alone in my Boston apartment, watching rain slide slowly down the window like it's trying to remind me of something. There's a letter on my kitchen table. Shaky handwriting, cheap nursing home stationery. After 13 years of silence, my father wants to see me. He says he's dying. He says he's sorry. Funny thing about rain, it always takes me back to October 14th, 2011. The day my life split in two. That morning started like any other Tuesday. I came home from school thinking about dinner, about homework, about the algebra test I'd just aced, about the band poster I planned to buy with my birthday money. Normal 15-year-old thoughts. I had no idea that within 2 hours I'd be walking alone through a freezing storm, wondering if I'd survive the night. The moment I stepped through the front door, I knew something was wrong. My father was standing in the living room like a volcano about to erupt. His face was red, his hands were shaking. In one fist, a wad of cash. In the other, empty pill bottles. Behind him stood my sister, Karen, 19 years old, 4 years older than me. She wore the perfect expression, concerned, worried, heartbroken. The devoted older sister who had just discovered something terrible about her baby sibling. But I saw her eyes, that tiny flicker she couldn't hide. Satisfaction. Our stepmother Jolene hovered in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, lips pressed together. Silent. That was her specialty. My father didn't let me put my backpack down. He started screaming, accusing me of stealing from his wallet, buying pills, hiding them in my room, talking to drug dealers. Karen had found the evidence. Cash in my dresser, pills in my closet, text messages proving everything. I tried to explain. I tried to deny it, but the words died in my throat when I realized something terrifying. He wasn't listening. Karen had already poisoned him. She stood there crying, saying she tried to help me, that she didn't want to tell him, but she couldn't watch her little sister destroy herself anymore. It was an Oscar-worthy performance, and my father believed every word. He grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise and dragged me to the door. He threw my backpack at my chest. Then he opened the door. Rain poured down in sheets, thunder rolled. The temperature had dropped fast. He looked me straight in the eyes and said it again. Get out of my house. I don't need a sick daughter. He shoved me onto the porch. The door slammed. The deadbolt clicked. Just like that. At 15 years old, I was homeless. 7 miles in a storm. I stood there for 5 minutes. Not cold yet. Just shocked. Waiting for the door to open. It never did. My phone was still on my bedroom desk. My backpack held textbooks and a half-eaten granola bar. No jacket. No money. No way to go for help. So I walked. Not because I chose to, but because my body did. Toward the only safe place I knew. My grandmother Dorothy's house. 7 miles away. 7 miles doesn't sound far. Until you're walking in freezing rain, soaked to the bone, in canvas sneakers. Cars splashed past me without slowing down. By mile 2, I couldn't feel my fingers. By mile 3, my teeth were chattering so hard I thought they'd break. By mile 4, my legs gave out. I remember seeing a mailbox, thinking I'd rest for just a second. Just one. Then everything went black. The call that changed everything. 3 hours after throwing his daughter into a storm, my father's phone rang. Officer Daniels, County Police. A 15-year-old girl had been found unconscious on Route 9. Hypothermia. She was being transported to County General Hospital. And sir, Child Protective Services had been notified. A caseworker was already on site. They'd need him to bring whatever evidence he had. Hospital staff later said my father looked like a man watching his entire life collapse in slow motion. Karen stood beside him, and for the first time, her mask cracked. The woman Karen didn't account for. The woman who found me wasn't just a passerby. Her name was Gloria Hensley, 67 years old, retired after 35 years with Child Protective Services. She knew exactly what she was looking at when she saw a teenage girl unconscious in the rain with no coat and no phone. She wrapped me in an emergency blanket, called 911, followed the ambulance to the hospital. When I woke up hours later, she was still there. She handed me hospital coffee and said, "This is terrible, but it's warm." I laughed. Then she asked the question that saved my life. Why was a 15-year-old walking alone in a storm? I told her everything. She listened. And when I finished, she said, "I believe you, and I'm going to help you prove it." The truth comes out. When my father and Karen arrived at the hospital, they expected a scared, apologetic girl. Instead, they walked into a room full of professionals. A CPS worker, a police officer, and Gloria. Karen tried her usual act. It didn't work. Then my grandmother arrived. Dorothy Reeves, 5'2", pure steel. She positioned herself between me and my father and said, "That's my granddaughter. What has this fool done now?" Evidence unraveled fast. ATM withdrawals traced to Karen. Pill bottles tied to her boyfriend. Fake text from a burner phone. By morning, Karen was arrested for fraud and child endangerment. My father lost custody. I went home with my grandmother. 13 years later, Karen served time. My trust fund stayed untouched. I went to college, built a life. And my father, he lost everything. Now he wants forgiveness. I folded the letter carefully. Then I slid it into the trash. Some doors, once locked, stay that way forever. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe, comment where you're watching from, and let me know the time. I see everything. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is surviving.